In this video, we'll learn how to add fractions together. Let's start with a basic example. 2 over 5 plus 3 over 5. Now, when the fractions have the same denominator, you just need to add the numerators. So this would become 2 plus 3 over 5, and that becomes 5 over 5, which is just 1. So 2 over 5 plus 3 over 5 is 1. As another example, let's say you wanted to add 7 over 9 and 10 over 9. So 7 plus 10 is 17. So that becomes 17 over 9. And then you need to check if this can be simplified. Since they don't have any common factors, this can't be simplified. So that would be the answer. Now, if you had to subtract two fractions that had the same denominator, you would just do the same thing as before. So for example, let's subtract 2 over 3 and 5 over 3. So since they have the same denominator, you just subtract the numerators. So you do 2 minus 5 over 3, and 2 minus 5 is minus 3, so that becomes minus 3 over 3. And since 3 over 3 is 1, that becomes minus 1. As another example, let's subtract 5 over 7 and 13 over 7. So 5 minus 13 is minus 8, so that becomes minus 8 over 7. And since that can't be simplified, you would just leave it as minus 8 over 7. But when you've got a minus sign in the numerator or the denominator, so if that was minus 7, it's conventional to bring that outside the fraction. So you shouldn't leave it in the numerator or the denominator. So we write the minus outside the fraction, and then we write the fraction. Now, what about if the denominators aren't the same? So for example, let's say you wanted to add 2 over 3 and 5 over 7. You start by finding the lowest common multiple of the denominators. So you find the LCM of 3 and 7. So that's 21. And then you multiply each number, each fraction, by the number that would give you 21. So to get 21 for this fraction, we have to multiply both numbers by 7. So we do 2 times 7 divided by 3 times 7. And then to get 21 in the denominator for this fraction, we have to multiply both numbers by 3. So we do 5 times 3 over 7 times 3. So that becomes 14 over 21. And this fraction becomes 15 over 21. And then you can add as before. So 14 plus 15 is 29, and that would be over 21. And since there aren't any common factors for these numbers, this would be the simplest form. So the answer is 29 over 21. As another example, let's try adding 2 over 7. Actually, let's do 2 over 9 and 5 over 18. So the LCM this time is 18. So we have to multiply the first fraction by 2, and we don't do anything to the second fraction. So we multiply both numbers by 2, and then we simply add the second fraction. So that becomes 4 over 18 plus 5 over 18. And that becomes 9 over 18. But since these numbers have a common factor of 9, you can divide that out to get a simplified fraction. So 9 over 9 is 1, and 18 over 9 is 2. So that becomes 1 over 2. Okay, what if you wanted to subtract two fractions? So for example, let's subtract 9 over 11 and 5 over 6. So we start by finding the LCM of the denominators. So that would be 66. And then we multiply this fraction by 6 and this fraction by 11, because that would give us 66 in the denominator for both fractions. So we do 9 times 6 and 11 times 6. And then for the second fraction, we do 5 times 11 and 6 times 11. So that becomes 54 over 66. And this becomes 55 over 56, over 66. And then you just subtract as before. So 54 minus 55 is minus 1 over 66. And as we mentioned before, when you've got a negative number, you should bring it outside, the negative sign outside the fraction. So you'd write minus, and then you would write 1 over 66. And that would be the answer. As another example, let's subtract 5 over 12 and 7 over 18. So the LCM of the denominators is 36. And to get 36 for the first fraction, we have to multiply it by 3, sorry. So we do 5 times 3 and then 12 times 3. And then for the second fraction, we have to multiply both numbers by 2. So that becomes 15 over 36, and that becomes 14 over 36. And that simplifies to 15 minus 14 over 36, which is just 1 over 36. And that would be the answer.